Oh, 20. So this is your lesson number 6, acid and base indicators. One thing you're going to need for sure today is your periodic table, so make sure you have that. If you don't have one, they're in on D2L. You can print out another copy, but the important thing is there's a table on the back there that tells you all about the different indicators we're going to learn about. This is a really important unit or topic, I'd say, for next year in Chem 30 because you need to know how to use these indicators and how to read the results they give you. So an acid-base indicator is a chemical substance that essentially will change color when something is acidic or basic to give you a little bit of an idea of what the pH is. So litmus is an example, and you've probably used litmus paper at some point during either junior high or grade 10. But litmus is a real basic indicator to tell you if something's an acid or a base. So red litmus paper, when you put a drop of a base on, so this is what the red here is what the color is originally. As soon as you put a drop of base on, it's going to change to a blue color, and that'll indicate it's a blue. Sorry, it's a base. And if it stayed red, well, that would tell you that it's an acid in on the pH range of 7 or lower. Blue litmus paper. This is the color of the blue litmus paper. When you put a substance that is a pH of 7 or lower, or an acidic substance, it'll turn red. So you can use either of those to indicate if something is an acid or a base. So, all right, one thing that we got to work with here. Um, I always do this in my kindergarten voice because this will take you back to a simpler time. All right, so first part is we're going to learn about our primary colors. So our primary colors are yellow, red, and blue. And these primary colors can be mixed together to make different colors. So for example, yellow and blue, when you mix them together, they make green. Yes, very good, children. Green. Okay, so yellow and blue makes green. If you look at our other primaries, we have yellow and red. Well, when you mix yellow and red together, you get orange in the middle there. If you mix our last ones, red and blue, you mix those two together as a secondary color, you get purple. Okay? So from that, we just have to understand that there's a range that can exist. Well, let's focus on this yellow and blue again. So yellow and blue, if you mix them equal parts together, you're going to get a green in the middle. If all of a sudden you add more yellow to the substance, you're going to get more of a yellowy green. If you add more blue, well, from here you'll get more of a bluey green. So there's a range of spectrum that can exist, and that's where those tertiary colors come in. And what is you have to understand here is when you mix two colors together, you're going to get a secondary color, and that's going to come in a second here. So what we have is this is where you should look on the back of your periodic table if you have it in front of you. So the back of your periodic table, there is a table that says acid base indicators at 298 Kelvin. And that's what's on the screen here. So why this is useful to us is these different things. So for example, there's the indicator names. This suggested abbreviation isn't really important for Chem 20. We have our pH range, we have our color range. This Ka is Chem 30 stuff. You don't need to know it. But these three columns you need to know about. So what these different indicators do is if you look here, they have different ranges that they tell us different pieces of information. So if we look at methyl violet, well, it goes from a yellow to a blue color, and in between yellow and blue, remember, is green in the middle. Cressyl red, well, that's a red to yellow from 0 to 1.0, and then from 7 to 8, it changes from yellow to red. So we're going to focus on this guy down here, bromophil blue. So bromophil blue has a range, and make sure you can find it on your periodic table, 6 to 7.6. It goes from yellow to blue. So what does that information mean? Well, if you have a pH of 7.6 and higher, so remember to 14 will go, the color of the substance or the bromomethyl blue will be blue in this range. If you have a substance that is, hopefully yellow shows up here, 0 to 7 points, oh sorry, 0 to 6.0, that'll be yellow, right? So here's the important part of why we started mixing those together and showing you why colors mix together. Because from 6.1 all the way to 7.5, bromomethyl blue will be a green color. And will it be all one green? No. If it's in the middle, you'll have an equal amount of green and blue. If it's really close to the 6.1, it's going to be a yellowy green. If it's more by the 7.5, you're going to have a more of a bluey green. So that's how we understand the ranges that exist in these different indicators. So if you go through all of these, you can see there's a range, and that's what you have to understand is 0 to 6.0 for bromomethyl blue is yellow. As soon as it hits 6.1, it's going to start changing to a greeny color until it hits 7.6, where it's going to be yellowy green, and then that bluey green, and then at 7.6, it'll be a blue. And then from blue all the way to 14, the color in the indicator will be blue. So here's some examples of some indicators. And this is bromomethyl blue right up here. So with nothing in it, we have a clear substance. Bromomethyl blue is yellow. So this one's pH 2.1. We have a very yellowy color. And then remember at 6 it changes. So we see a greeny color. And as we go through that range, you see the changing of green. And then in this upper range, we have a very distinct blue. So this is where indicators can mix and do is give us a very little bit of information, and we have to kind of decipher that information. So this is bromomethyl blue. This down here is, you've probably played with this one before. This is phenolphthalein. So phenolphthalein has a range. If we just go back, phenolphthalein 8.2 to 1.0 is colorless to pink. So from 0 to 8.2, it's going to be clear or colorless. From 8.2 to 10.0, it's going to be a light pink, because clear and pink is just going to make a lighter pink. And then, or sorry, I messed up my numbers there. So 8.3 to 9.9 is going to be light pink. And then from 10.0 all the way to 14.0 is going to be dark pink. Okay, so this is a very common indicator we use, and this is showing the difference here. This is the clear, and this is like going to be the pink that it is. So if it's a lighter pink, it'll be in between the middle there. Universal indicators. So universal indicators are a mixture of different pH indicators that will change colors at different times, and you get this nice spectrum here of colors. So it looks just like the rainbow. So at 0, you have red, and then it changes to orange, to yellow, to green, to blue, and then purple or violet. And in universal indicators just show you that wide range of indicators. There are some more advanced technologies now. So pH meters, remember this is the power of hydrogen. These are measuring how much hydronium is present. So if you go on to university chemistry or higher level chemistry, you'll start using these. What they have is an electrode, and they will indicate and measure how much hydronium is present to give you an actual digital reading of how much your pH is. So let's look at an example problem here. So based on the results from the two indicators, what is the pH range of the unknown substances? So we have an unknown A and unknown B. So bromomethyl blue has a range. I'm just going to write it as bromo blue. Just shorten that up for you a bit. Bromo blue has a range. We just talked about it, and on your periodic table, it goes from 6.0 to 7.6, and that's yellow to blue. Okay. And then we have another indicator here, which is bromocresol green, which has a range on our periodic table of 3.8 to 5.4. And that has a range of colors of yellow to blue again. So remember what's going to be in the middle there when you start mixing the yellow and blue. But if it's between, so it's from 6.1 to 7.6 is going to be green for this guy here. For this one, from 3.9 to 5.3, it'll be green. So what's that tell us? Okay. Well, if we look at this is substance A. Sorry. This is substance A, and then substance B is here. So this is how they're divided. So substance A, bromophil blue, is going to be green. So we know from that it will be a range of 6.1 to 7.5. So that tells us the range of what bromophil blue is. The bromescal green, however, is going to be blue, so we know that it's going to be 5.4 all the way up to 14, big range of numbers. So what we have to figure out here is we have to use these two pieces of data to figure out what the range would actually be. So we know that it's going to be essentially 6.1, and it's going to be it can be 6.1 to 7.5. So the range for this one is going to be 6.1 to 7.5. So what we need to look at here, well, 6.1 for the reason we know it's not below 6.1, because if this went below 6.1, it starts changing to a yellow color. So we know that even though this gives us a 5.4 rating, we can't use that data because this tells us it's above that 6.1. So it's definitely in this range. This part also tells us, well, if you have 14.0, 5.4 to 14.0 is blue, and this one's green. Well, this one is green. As soon as we go above 7.5 into the 7.6 number, we're going to get a blue color. So this is the pH range of this one. So in this case, this really is all we need for the information. This tells us really the range of what it is. If we look at unknown B though, the first one here is saying bromophil blue can be from 6.0. Oh, sorry. 7.6 all the way to 14. So that's where it can be blue for bromophil blue. But bromocresol green can be blue from 5.4 to 14. So this is actually an interesting piece of information because if we looked at this alone, we'd have 5.4 to 14. It's a big range. But this second one here gives us a smaller range because we know if we go below 7.5 or so below 7.6, this is going to start changing to be green. So we actually know based on this two pieces of information that the range is 7.6 to 14.0. We can't go any lower than 7.6 because if we do, we start changing to a yellow or greeny color. And so this piece of information isn't really useful to us in this case. Okay, but that's how we can use two different indicators to give us some information to narrow down the ranges that we're using. There you go. So that's how to use indicators, and let me know if you have any questions.